The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. When the Pharisees and some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus, they noticed that some of his disciples were eating with defiled hands, that is, without washing them. For the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they thoroughly wash their hands, thus observing the tradition of the elders. And they do not eat anything from the market unless they wash it. And there are also many other traditions that they observe, the washing of cups, pots, and bronze kettles. So the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, "Why do your disciples not live according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with defiled hands?" Jesus said to them, "Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites, as it is written, 'This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandment of God and hold to human tradition.'" Then Jesus called the crowd again and said to them, "Listen to me, all of you, and understand. There's nothing outside a person that by going in can defile them. But the things that come out of a person are what defile them. For it is from within, from the human heart, that evil intentions come: fornication, theft, murder, adultery, avarice, wickedness, deceit, licentiousness, envy, slander, pride, folly. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person." The Gospel of the Lord. Back in his day, Bishop Fulton Sheen was invited to speak to the group of inmates from the maximum security prison. And when he was there, the first thing he said was, the main difference between you and I are you've been caught and I haven't. I can assure you what he didn't mean is that he also was a criminal, but you get the point. But the truth is there's a law and there's a place for the law, which is why there's law in all different forms of society. We have the criminal law, we have tax law, we have even in the church canon law, and even laws pertaining to sports game and board game, and all these things, because law is necessary. But Martin Luther King Jr., who was a social activist, he knew the importance of the law, but he also knew the limitations of the law, which is why he said, morality cannot be legislated, but it can restrain the heartless. And often, that's why we have the law, to restrain us from doing evil. Because truth is, if we know that we can do something that is going to benefit ourselves and our family and our friends, and we can get away with it, we'd be tempted to do it. You know, over 80% of university students, I was researching this yesterday, over 80%, some people say like 90% of university students have admitted to cheating. And one website that I saw, that 58.6% of the medical students in Saudi Arabia has admitted to cheating. So you can see, it doesn't matter what it is that we do. If we know we're going to have competitive edge, we might be just tempted to do it. But the truth is, the society does not reward goodness, honesty, integrity, but they look towards people who are clever, who are successful and rich, who has beat the system as the role models. And that's why people would be more than happy to cheat if they can get away with it. But there's something called virtue. Virtue is power of the soul, and virtue is necessary for all of us navigating through this web of very confusing world, because every saint is a virtuous person. And whenever we think about virtue, we think of heroic virtue. People who do heroic things that may cost them their life or everything that they have, even the relationship that they have. People who become martyrs or what have you. But there is something called everyday virtue. Whatever God has placed in your life, it could be your vocation. It could be your own family. It could be your co-workers. People that God has ordained to be around you, that you are called to serve them and bring them closer to Christ. By being good, being kind, being honest, that's how we win them over. And everyday virtue is how we should build up our lives. So just earlier this week, I remember driving up north. And while I was driving up north, there was this red GMC truck that was trailing behind me, and I didn't really think much of it, except, there was that junction where I had to turn left. I was just about to turn left, but the yellow light turned to red, so I stopped. A few seconds later, I hear tire screeching, right? And then this truck makes an abrupt right turn. And I thought to myself, oh, he must be in a rush to go somewhere. Well, I wonder what's happening. And then he stops, and then he makes a U-turn, and while he's making a U-turn, passing this intersection, I realized he was honking at me and waving at me. Not the entire hand, but one finger, if you know what I mean. And I thought to myself, why would he do that? All I did was I observed the law, because I thought, okay, it's turning red, so I shouldn't go through the traffic light, and therefore I stopped. And then I realized, okay, what else is happening in this man's life? Obviously, somebody whom he doesn't know, who's obeying the traffic law, cannot have got him that angry. There's got to be something that's happening in his life that maybe he's upset about or not at peace with. And I thought about, okay, God, I know you placed him in my life for a reason. You probably want me to pray for him. So I forgave him and I prayed for him. 20 years ago, that would have been a different story. Before there was Father Peter, I would have drove and I would have caught up to him and cut him off, and I would have given him back his own dose of medicine. But I said, those are my past days now. And so people say, well, Father, you're so chill, what have you. Well, something that I had to work on. Because I don't know if you know, I used to have a very, very bad temper. So whenever I got angry, I just lost control of myself. So I just lose it. And road rage, what have you. But each of us have to conquer our own fears and our hurts and our emotions so that we can choose to be a servant of God each and every day, choosing everyday virtue. It's necessary in our spiritual life. So as I was driving, at some point I was feeling a little resentful. I was like, yeah, but I was just being good, and how can he do this to me? And I said, you know what? I'm going to pray for him, I'm going to forgive him, I'm going to bless him. And what happens is I felt much, much better after. Way of life to follow Christ. That has to be our way of life. It's a common fact that seminaries, as well as local universities, did you know around the exam time, a lot more students actually come to the chapel to pray and attend Mass every day? Why do you think they do that? Because they think by going to Mass, they're going to get better marks or they're going to pass, right? But we know that's not how it works. If you want to do well in school, you have to study every day. And you have to study for exam. You praying isn't going to do this instant magic. It's going to, make you excel in academics. Such is our life. People who play music, musicians, and athletes know this. There's something called muscle memory. If you do every day, what happens is that you can do what you want to do with your eyes closed because your muscle has memory. And it just do it on its own. It's the same thing. Our way of life and our virtue should become second nature because whatever we do each and every day, repeatedly, we become better at it. So let us choose everyday virtue, choosing to follow God's commandments, choosing to be good. Because even though this present life might not honor it or reward it, once we go to God's heavenly kingdom, God will.